Welcome to a late show, everybody. I am your host, Stephen Colbert. Well, just when we all thought 2020 was the worst 12 months of our lives, 2021 said, hold my year. Now, you might recall that yesterday, the outgoing president incited an insurrection and unleashed an angry, seditious mob that stormed the U.S. Capitol in an attempt to stage a violent coup. Now, to our worried friends and allies across the globe, please rest assured, America knows we have a problem and are seeking treatment soon. But as worried as our friends and allies might be, you know who sounds more worried? The president. Because just a little while ago, my taping time, he released a video that curiously contained none of the bravado of yesterday morning. No cries of stop the steal, no calls for action, no fomenting a mindless mob and declarations that he will never, ever surrender. Also, no apology or acceptance of personal responsibility. It definitely has the feel of someone that has been told by their lawyer that in 13 days or less, they can be charged with insurrection, sedition, and inciting violence. Who knows, maybe homicide. I don't know, I'm not a lawyer. I'm a clown, like Rudy. So I'm not gonna show you a word of his video because he doesn't mean a word of it. A man facing a noose will say anything to save his neck or save his skin. It's hard to tell, there's a lot of skin around that neck. All you need to know is this man is terrified. And if you're one of the people who marched up to Capitol Hill on his orders, you should put on your shirt, get out your flag, put on your hat, and you give that video a watch. But you also might want to put on a cup because he threw you under the bus that's going to take all of you to jail. Because who's going to defend you or him or those senators and congressmen for what you all incited? For Pete's sake, the Wall Street Journal's editorial board just called on the president to resign. Over 100 lawmakers are calling for the president's removal. And today, Nancy Pelosi threatened to pursue impeachment if the president's cabinet does not remove him immediately using the 25th Amendment. That is some serious someone has to take away Grandpa's car keys energy. And may I remind you, this car has nuclear missiles. Now, for those of you reading the Constitution who haven't gotten to the 25th Amendment yet, spoiler alert, it allows the cabinet to remove the president if they declare he is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. Well, that checks out. Although I'm pretty sure he's discharged plenty of duty in his office. But as a practical matter, the vice president has to organize the cabinet for a vote. So today, Speaker Pelosi and soon-to-be Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer called the vice president to talk about this urgent subject, but were left on a holding line for 20 minutes without Mr. Pence ever picking up. And I believe, is this true? We have the vice president's answering service.
You've reached the office of Mike Pence. If you want your son to stop being gay, press 1. If you want your president removed from office, please hold. Your constitutional crisis is important to us. Mother, pack the bags!
Now, in the president's video, he says there'll be an orderly transition on January 20th, but he's not saying anything about what he's going to do before then. I'm guessing send a pallet of meth and machetes to every Bass Pro Shop in the country with a note saying, "Make me proud." Aside from his fear of removal or prosecution, maybe Baby just wants his toy back because Twitter locked the president's account after his riot on Capitol Hill. Good to know Twitter is finally treating a violence-inciting fascist as harshly as a teenager who used 7 seconds of an Imagine Dragons song. You know what you did, Braden! After the president continued to post lies about the election, Twitter announced his account would be locked for 12 hours, which means last night the president had the most boring poops of his life. Overall, it was a tough day for the president's social media presence. He also got blocked from posting to Facebook and Instagram indefinitely. YouTube pulled his video address to the rioters, citing election misinformation, and Amazon banned him from ordering Pixie Sticks because they get him too wound up before bedtime. Now, we're all hoping someday the president gets his comeuppance. He seems bound and determined to keep his uppance uncombed. Because earlier today, we learned the president has suggested to aides he wants to pardon himself in the final days of his presidency. Just what the founding fathers intended. It reminds me of George Washington's quote, "I chopped down that cherry tree and got away with it, bitches. Kiss my wooden balls." But he's not being stingy with the get-out-of-jail-free cards. Reportedly, the president has considered a range of preemptive pardons for Don Jr., Eric, Ivanka, Jared Kushner, and Rudy Giuliani. Nothing for Melania, but obviously, she's already serving hard time, though I'm guessing it was pretty soft. But while the writing seems to be on the wall for this administration, not everyone in Congress can read. Like Florida Congressman and man desperately hoping for a Guys and Dolls audition, Matt Gaetz. Last night on the floor of the House, a floor that was still riddled with the broken glass of the president's thugs, Gaetz floated this story from the Washington Times that a facial recognition company had seen that some of the mob was really Antifa, and that's kind of interesting. What's more interesting is that the facial recognition company said, no, we didn't. Though they did say they ID'd some actual neo-Nazis in that crowd. But if you're going to sell ass-covering fantasies that rioters weren't really the president's supporters, you know what might help? If the president's supporters would stop bragging that they're the ones who rioted. Case in point, that guy who broke into the Speaker of the House's office. His name is Richard Big O Barnett, and he's the leader of a pro-gun rights group in Gravette, Arkansas. Now, how do I know this? He identified himself as the intruder to a New York Times reporter. Our source was the New York Times. That's pretty dumb. Has he ever seen the Times motto? All the news that's admissible in court. Time and time again, people, these violent idiots, looked right into the camera, gave their contact information, and said exactly what they were up to.
Ma'am, what happened to you?
I got maced.
You got maced.
By the police.
And what happened? You were trying to go inside the Capitol?
I made it like a foot inside and they pushed me out and they maced me.
What's your name? Where are you from?
My name is Elizabeth. I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee.
And why did you want to go in?
We're storming the Capitol. It's a revolution.
It's a revolution? And you're complaining that they maced you in a real revolution? When you lose, they chop your head off. And then your little piano scarf doesn't have anything to wrap around. Wouldn't that be sad? If you don't believe me, ask failed revolutionary. Oh, wait, you can't, because they chop the head off. And that's where they keep the ears and the mouth. Really poor planning on the whole head thing. One of the people posting from inside the insurrection was actually a newly elected member of the West Virginia House of Delegates. Delegate Derek Evans streamed this video on social media yesterday.
We're in! We're in! Derek Evans is in the Capitol!
Okay, it's never a great idea to live stream your own crimes, but if you do, you gotta remember not to shout your own name. Bank robbers never say, okay, put the money in the bag, real calm now, no one gets hurt. Oh yeah, baby, another successful heist for Doug Sullivan of 310 Ridgefield Road in Mooresville, Illinois, 11854, bitches. Now those guys and gal are merely the tip of the doucheberg, which is why the FBI is asking for the public's help identifying Trumpists who stormed the Capitol, and has set up a website for tips. It's actually fbi.gov/US Capitol. And I'm sure they're being inundated with useful tips as we speak. Okay, guys, listen up. We got a hot tip to be on the lookout for known rioter Seymour Butts. Okay, I want to see more Butts and his accomplices, Munch McCoochie, Harry Balls, and Baba Booey, Howard Stern's penis. Let's go get him. But I'm a patriot. I'm willing to do my part, FBI. So this morning I scanned the photos from the Capitol, and I think I recognize some of the people destroying democracy. Like this guy. That might be Senator Ted Cruz. I want to be fair here. It could be the bloated corpse of a drowned woodchuck. And I'm pretty sure this guy is Missouri Senator Josh Hawley. I recognize him from his Twitter handle, Pee Wee Herman Goering. Over in the House, I think this fella is Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, who might be the most self-serving, amoral person in the House of Representatives, unless he's home right now. And I'm pretty sure this is Medal of Freedom recipient Devin Nunes. It's hard to recognize him without his lips on the president's ass. And I also think I saw the guy who's getting the Medal of Freedom next week, Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan. Yeah, that's definitely him. But following Jordan's example on sexual assault of college wrestlers, I'm going to pretend I didn't see anything. We've got a great show for you tonight. My guest is Mrs. Maisel herself, Rachel Brosnahan. But when we return, meanwhile, stick around.